hello and welcome. You're watching CNN News 18. This is The Right Stand with me, Poonam Burde. Elections in West Bengal have had an unfortunate history of violence. The state is gearing up for panchayat polls with a single-phased voting scheduled on the 8th of July. The Gram Panchayats, the Panchayat Samitis and Jilla Parishads will all go to elections that are seen as a curtain raiser ahead of 2024 Lok Sabha elections. But why is it making news is because of the violence we've witnessed in the run-up to the nomination process itself. It was last day of nomination yesterday. Bombs, arson, attacks, clashes among political parties seem to be commonplace in West Bengal in election season. Unfortunately, at least 3 lives have been lost at last count. That prompted the Calcutta High Court to direct the state to deploy central forces across all districts of the state to ensure there is no more bloodshed. We're still days away from the election actually happening. Now, in the 2018 rural polls, TMC won 90% of panchayat seats in the state, 22 Jilla Parishads, all of which were won by the TMC. Those elections too were marred by widespread violence and alleged malpractices. We'll get into those details in just a bit. But that brings us to the bigger question that I want to ask on The Right Stand tonight. Is there a pattern that we are seeing when it comes to violent elections and the state of West Bengal? And if yes, who is benefiting from this particular violence? Let me first show you what has transpired within this entire week. June 15th, which was yesterday, in Bangar, there were 3 people that were killed. There were several others that were injured during clashes. Those are the scenes that we saw from Bangar, even as the governor went there today. Navagram in Murshidabad, yesterday again. Trinamool Congress's Mohammad Haq was killed. A probe is now underway of what exactly happened. In the same district of Murshidabad, in Khargram, on the 10th of June, a Congress worker was shot dead. Reports suggested that he was allegedly shot dead by 2 TMC workers who have now been arrested, even though the TMC claims that they have nothing to do with the kind of violence that we are ensuing. Now, these are rural elections. There are conflicts that arise and violence that ensues. It's a pattern that many observers from West Bengal say. Let me show you some of the defining moments of what has transpired so far. Unfortunately, it all ended in violent clashes. Bangar, like I mentioned today, there were 7 bags of crude bombs that were recovered. They were found just lying around and not very far away from a police station. That's what the most shocking bit is. In Birbhum today, there were 20 bombs that were recovered from a house. Why were they there? Were they belonging to someone? They were recovered by the police. We don't know. All of that is under investigation. Again, in Bangar today, we saw the governor visit violence-hit areas. Remember, those crude bombs were found just few hours before the governor was to visit that area because this was one of the worst hit areas as far as violence was concerned. There were many vehicles that were set ablaze by miscreants. On the 15th of June, which is yesterday, in Birbhum, the TMC backers pelted stones near the BDO office. They're believed to be TMC backers. The TMC, of course, denies those claims. As far as North Dinajpur is concerned, again yesterday, 3 CPIM supporters were injured in clashes. How the clashes started, who provoked whom, all of that is up for discussion. All of that there is no clarity on. Again, on 14, Bangar, we saw 2 groups clash inside the BDO office. There was a nomination process that was underway. Inside the block development officer's office is where we saw these clashes break out. On the 14th, the day before that, in Bankura, there were 2 cars with bags full of bombs that were seized. Where were they being transported? Whose car it was? Who was behind this entire thing? All of that is under investigation and the state will have to look into it. Now, the Calcutta High Court has taken note of all of this violence. They've directed that central forces be deployed in the state across all polling stations. The High Court amended its earlier order of segregating just 7 sensitive districts. They amended that and ordered a pan-state deployment of central forces. Here's what the High Court said in its order yesterday. The Calcutta High Court directed the State Election Commission to send a requisition to the centre for the deployment of forces within 48 hours. 24 hours have already passed by. No appreciable steps have been taken ever since the order was passed in the earlier writ petitions is also what the High Court observed. They also said that no effective steps were taken to identify sensitive areas from a law and order point of view. Waiting any longer will cause more damage to the situation and will not aid in protecting the purity of election process was the clear words in which the High Court sounded an alarm, which is why they said that there should be central forces that are deployed in the state. Now, Bengal is no stranger to political violence. During the leftist regime, the situation was much worse, and that's what the TMC often cites. But what does the TMC's track record look like? Here's what happened in the last panchayat elections. There were 14 people who lost their lives in poll-related violence in 2018. As per the State Election Commission, 20,076 of the 58,692 seats were uncontested. The TMC won Birbhum and Murshidabad uncontested. Bankura, South 24 Parganas also won uncontested by the TMC. What's interesting is all of these areas had witnessed violence back in 2018 when the elections happened. The TMC had won 34% of seats uncontested in the Gram Panchayat elections last time around. Now, while the Panchayat election in 2003 gained infamy for the death toll, the 2018 poll set a record in the number of seats that were won without a contest. The BJP says all of this happened because their workers were intimidated, were threatened from even filing nominations. That's the allegation they were making this time around as well. The BJP has alleged large-scale rigging and instances of violence that were sponsored by the ruling TMC. That was the allegation the BJP made back in 2018. 5 years later, we're back to that same allegation, back to those same two parties. Now, the violence is not the only point of discord in the state. The deployment of central forces has the TMC irked, even though it's an order of the court. Why is that, you might wonder? Now, the TMC and specifically Mamata Banerjee has on multiple occasions raised doubts on central forces. During Panchayat elections in 2023, Mamata Banerjee said that forces stayed in a 5-star hotel and they instigated riots. They held a meeting with the BJP people and then returned and they provoked the people to commit violence, is what she said on 3rd of April this year. As far as the row over BSF jurisdiction is concerned, Mamata Banerjee said that we must limit BSF 50 kilometers from the international border. The BSF is killing people, she said, throwing them on the other side. The BSF should take police in confidence during ops is also something that Mamata Banerjee has publicly said. In the 2021 assembly elections in West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee and the TMC alleged that there was a misuse of central forces which remains unabated. The forces were misused to intimidate TMC voters is the allegation that they made. They also claimed that these central forces were trying to influence the vote in favor of one party. They were alluding to the BJP, the ruling party at the center, of course. The same election, Mamata Banerjee came out and said that if CRPF creates disturbance, get out them. Forces will scare you, ask you not to vote was the allegation that Mamata Banerjee had made. She even went on to say that Jawans are creating nuisance, attacking women. That allegation was made in the April of 2021. Many have asked her where is the proof to substantiate these claims. Those questions are being raised even now, which is why even after the court that has come out and said that central forces need to be deployed, security needs to be provided to every single polling officer, to every single candidate, we still have the TMC asking, why is the central force even being allowed? Another 24-hour deadline still exists for the TMC for them to requisition the center to send these additional troops. What happens? Why is there a delay? All of those questions answered tonight.
We are standing in Bhangur 2 and this is the condition of a couple of cars were badly vandalized and they were set on fire yesterday.
I happened to see some places where unfortunate incidents of violence was there.
কেন্দ্রীয় সরকার উঁচিয়ে বসেই আছে ডান্ডা দিয়ে লোক পেটাও গুলি দিয়ে মারো সারা বাংলায় তোমরা সেন্ট্রাল ফোর্স নিয়ে এসো আমি বলি সেন্ট্রাল ফোর্স তো মণিপুরেও নিয়ে গেছো মন্ত্রীর বাড়ি জ্বালিয়ে দিয়েছে 150 জনের উপর গুলিতে মারা গেছে কি করেছে তোমার সেন্ট্রাল ফোর্স
भारतीय जनता पार्टी के कार्यकर्ता पूरी दृढ़ता के साथ साहस के साथ उस जुल्म और ज्यादती को सहते हुए लोकतंत्र की लड़ाई लड़ने के लिए आगे बढ़ रहे हैं।
There is violence. There's violence every single election that we see, unfortunately, in West Bengal. It's a pattern, many say, but why is that a pattern? Let's open that up to the panelists that join us on this broadcast. National spokesperson of the BJP, Shehzad Poonawala, is with me. Spokesperson of the TMC, Bishwajit Dev, a member of parliament as well. And senior journalist Shikha Mukherjee also with me on this broadcast. Bishwajit Dev, I want to start by asking you. The court has said that central forces need to be deployed. It's a court directive. You have another 24 hours to ensure that central forces are there. Why raise questions on the need at all? Why not be safe than sorry?
Well, let me reply to you. You see, the entire incident which has occurred is basically in two districts. One in South 24 Parganas and one in Islampur and Chopra. Now both the two incidents is well planned and pre-planned at the instance of the opposition parties, the combined opposition parties of BJP, CPIM, Congress and ISF. All these four parties have deliberately planned this particular violence. They have instigated this violence so that they can go to the High Court and say that, well, the law and order situation is extremely bad, so we need central force. We welcome central force. Central force came here in 2021 also. So what was the outcome? Everybody knows. BJP was thrown away from Bengal. The same thing will happen again. Because the people's support are with Mamata Banerjee. The people's support are with All India Trinamool Congress.
Sure.
Central force will be of no help. Now let me finish.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
This is whatever violence you are seeing is a joint venture of the four combined opposition who are fighting jointly against All India Trinamool Congress. You know how many nominations have been submitted till yesterday? It was 2,31,000, out of which 1,50,000 is from the opposition and 82,000 is All India Trinamool Congress. Now, in spite of this, they are shouting that there is no democracy. Democracy is here only in Bengal. It has been restored in Bengal. It is here in Bengal. And we can see that everybody has got the right to contest the elections. Everybody has got the right to file their nomination. Everybody has got the right to go to the people. But
sure,
unfortunately, the entire incident, whatever we are seeing, is a joint venture agreement of the combined opposition led by BJP, CPIM, Congress and ISF. It is
sure,
very
and I'll have
unfortunate.
Shehzad Poonawala respond to that, but I just want to ask you, Bishwajit Dev.
Just to malign.
Sure, but Bishwajit Dev, I just want to ask you, you said that the same thing will happen, what happened in the last election. The BJP will be thrown out, the TMC will win, and there were central forces back then as well. Which brings me to the question I asked you in the first place. Why not then have the central forces at least ensure safety of everyone on ground?
What did your central force do in Manipur? In Manipur, in spite of the central force, 150 people were killed. What happened today? Even a central minister's bungalow was burned down to ashes. This is what the central forces are doing. And this is what they will be doing. Our police force, our team of force, our CID, our West Bengal police is competent enough to conduct this election. Central force came here in 2013. What happened? 39 people were killed. What happened during the time of CPIM in 2003? 72 people were killed.
Sure.
And now they are shouting for central force. They are the perpetrators of this violence. This combined
sure, the track record of the CPIM and the left regime is well known, but the TMC has been in power for close to 15 years now. There has to be accountability on the TMC side as well, isn't it? Because violence has been witnessed in panchayat elections in 2018, in the assembly elections in 2021. So, yes, the blame does fall on what was left over from the leftist regime, but you can't say that the state will remain mute spectator and not do anything. But Shehzad Poonawala, the TMC says that the BJP is provoking.
Not at all. The state has...
Poonam, now I think you've indulged them for about 5.5–6 minutes.
Sure.
May I have my turn?
Sure, the state says they've done it all. That's not what the opposition believes. That's perhaps what the court also did not believe, which is why the deployment of central forces was a directive that came in from the court. But anyway, Shehzad, go ahead.
Poonam, I really hope that I am not interrupted because I heard him for 5–6 minutes. First of all, let's assume for argument's sake Bishwajit is right and that this is a pre-planned alliance and combination done by the opposition. That means Mamata Banerjee is the most incompetent chief minister ever. Because right from 2011 onwards, a Vipaksh which has no power according to them, which has no place in Bengal, is being able to manufacture this kind of violence, and Mamata Banerjee, a strong CM, isn't able to control it. So she should resign on grounds of incompetence first. Secondly, since Mr. Bishwajit Dev is the official national spokesperson of the TMC, and he said that this was a pre-planned violence and it was a conspiracy, this should not be a statement made loosely by a spokesperson. I hope that he can show me by the end of the show an FIR registered to this effect by the police there, at the very least, and the names of the people whom they have named who are from our camp who are orchestrating this violence. Point number 3. Today, West Bengal is seeing that those who came with the slogan of Ma Mati Manush have become Bum, Balti and Blast. And this is because you have a TMC, Arthat Talibani-minded culture party that has come to power. Mr. Biswajit Dev, after the post-poll violence took place, it was the High Court which said that this is not rule of law, it's the law of the ruler. In 2018, the Supreme Court said that the kind of violence that is taking place in West Bengal, in 34 years of the left rule, which you opposed tooth and nail, you have transmutated into a worst form of institutionalization of political violence. And therefore, you are seeing this kind of violence and you are saying that Congress and ISF are part of this. Then why are you going for an opposition meet in Patna on 23rd, where the agenda is to save the constitution? Clearly, the Congress party should not be the one invited there. So I hope you will take a stand now on 3 points, sir. One, you will show me that why is Ms Mamata Banerjee so incompetent that she is not able to stop this year after year in every election. 2, show me the FIR where you have named anybody from the opposition for this so-called conspiracy of violence. And 3, please tell me why is the Congress party and you meeting on 23rd of June in Patna allegedly to save the democracy when clearly Congress party is playing such a role. The real reason is that Mamata Banerjee is the most virulent form of politicization of institutions and institutionalization of politics. Violence institutionalized in politics, and this is what it has come to. And the 2 lakh nominations you're saying, Mr. Deb, do the calculation. By that logic, every 2 minutes a nomination is being filed. Is that humanly possible? If you are saying 2 lakh nominations in the window that you have spoken of, the nomination window, it means 2 minutes, 1 nomination is being filed, scrutinized and accepted. Is it feasible? It is impossible.
It is not the statement of the party, it is on record. It is the record of the Election Commission of West Bengal. I am talking, whatever I am saying this.
Kindly produce that statement.
The entire nomination which has been filed is 2,31,000.
Mr. Dev, I am saying kindly produce. Mr. Dev, I have tremendous respect for you. I am asking you something very specific. You said that this was pre-planned, orchestrated violence done by all of us together in conjunction. Can you show me if the police of West Bengal has filed an FIR till now?
Absolutely,
or else how are you making that statement?
Absolutely.
Show us the FIR.
Absolutely.
Show the FIR.
That is why.
Produce the FIR.
Please let me reply. And that is why Mamata Banerjee directed the police to take action. But in the meantime, there was an order for Central Force. Now let us see whether the Central Force...
Is there an FIR naming the opposition parties for orchestrating violence?
We will expect.
Sir, I'm asking a simple question. Sir. You are a senior person and I have regard for you. Is there an FIR as we speak against the opposition parties orchestrating violence in West Bengal?
I am trying to understand. Try to understand.
So you're lying or you're saying it on the top of your head?
The direction was specifically given by Mamata Banerjee.
No, who's Mamata Banerjee to direct the police in an investigation? Mamata Banerjee can't direct investigation, sir. The police has to investigate independently. Mamata Banerjee's whims and fancies don't direct the course of an investigation. Are you saying that investigations are directed by Mamata?
Mamata Banerjee will direct the police. No.
Are you seriously saying that Mamata Banerjee directs the police? You're a national spokesperson. You're saying Mamata Banerjee directs the police how to act?
Take action. Obviously. Directed the police to take action.
Irrespective of whether they have proof for it or not.
Obviously. She is the chief minister. She is the chief minister. It is her responsibility to ensure that the law and order is there. And that is why it is her prerogative to direct the police.
So the police is incompetent to find this conspiracy. Mamata Banerjee finds it.
In the meantime, the entire opposition went to the High Court and the central forces have been deployed. Now let us see
so is the High Court.
But it's not the opposition, it's not that directed the deployment of central forces. The opposition may have gone to the High Court, but it was the High Court that found merit in the claims that were being made and directed for that deployment to be done. You have another 24 hours for that requisition to be made. Unfortunately, it wasn't done in the 24 hours that have gone by. But only questions have been raised over the conduct of the central forces.
I am again repeating. I am again repeating. We welcome. But what will be the consequences? What will be the consequences? I am again repeating. 2021 was also an election with central forces. But the people of Bengal were with Mamata Banerjee. The people of Bengal were with All India Trinamool Congress.
Sure.
And we could see that BJP
the central forces are there to maintain security, sir. They're not to ensure which party wins.
Was big zero.
But the central forces are deployed to ensure security, to ensure that no untoward incident happens.
We welcome. We welcome. We welcome and we expect a neutral action, a neutral role on behalf of the central forces. But unfortunately, the central forces, I just gave you an instance. Manipur, what happened?
Sure.
They were deployed. 150 people have been killed. Even a central minister's bungalow has been burned down to ashes today.
Sure, which is why the concerns that are being raised over the conduct of central forces or whether the need of the central forces, those questions are being raised, but irrespective, that order has come to the fore from a high court and needs to be adhered to, which is also why the West Bengal government today withdrew its petition. They wanted a review of the petition initially when only 7 districts were to be given central forces deployment. That was changed and amended yesterday, where all districts are now going to be given central forces deployment, which is why the state government withdrew its review petition, isn't it? But anyway, I request you both gentlemen to stay on with me. Shikha Mukherjee, senior journalist, also joins us on this broadcast. And we've seen the kind of political bloodied history, if I may say so, as far as West Bengal is concerned. Oftentimes, Shikha Mukherjee, we see the TMCs say, oh, but look, we've done so much better than what we were handed out by the left regime. The kind of death toll that we've seen during the left regime is not something that you see now, but you still see unfortunate instances of violence and deaths happen. There has to be accountability for that.
Well, I think the opposition is holding the government to account. The opposition is holding the Trinamool to account. And finally and irrevocably, it is the voter who will decide whether this violence is something that it rejects or whether this violence is something that it is prepared to live with. And it will choose its representatives based on its own considerations and calculations. It is not going. The violence in West Bengal is very peculiar. The violence happens, but the participation of voters is not affected. Voter participation in West Bengal is very high. It is higher than almost any other state in India, and which is puzzling to me. I've been trying to puzzle it out for over 40 years. I still don't have an answer. However, this violence that we are all talking about, and of course it is to be condemned, and it is the most undesirable thing in an election, is not the doing of any one actor, any one agency, any one political party. Every political party in West Bengal, whoever is participating in an election, it has acquired the resources, both in terms of this year we see that they're using cricket wickets and bombs and other such things to engage, to resist, to attack. Now, this is part of the unfortunate political culture of the state. It is extremely unfortunate that, and there is really no one political party which is going to say, I am going to do, I'm going to be like Gandhi, I'm going to be totally non-violent, I'm going to wait for others to attack me, and I'm not going to put up any resistance. It's not going to be peaceful. That is wishful thinking of the worst kind. To expect that the government is going to be able to handle this kind of violence and contain it when it is sort of erupting all over the place, that is also probably a little unrealistic.
Sure.
However, let me also remind you and your panel and your audience that the central forces are not the panacea for all ills. There is no way in which just calling in the central force is going to ensure peaceful elections. The question really that needs to be asked is, will this violence impact participation of voters in what? And the voter participation is an indicator of how free and fair the elections are.
Yes.
And therefore, the legitimacy of everyone that is voted to power. And I think that is very important, because unless one sees that this violence is impacting voter participation, it is very difficult to explain how exactly this violence plays out.
Sure.
My suspicion is it delivers some kind of a message, and all political parties are busy delivering the same message.
Right. But who really benefits from this kind of violence that we are seeing? That's the question we're trying to ask.
Well,
And Bishwajit, yes.
I would guess that in this year in particular, the Trinamool Congress does not want to benefit from violence for the simple reason that in 2018, when there was widespread violence in the panchayat elections, the 2019 Lok Sabha result has been interpreted by various people, including myself, as a rejection by the voter of the politics of violence. Therefore, I think the Trinamool Congress is very, very anxious to distance itself from the violence and try and keep its nose clean.
Yes. Absolutely, because Bishwajit Dev, like you said, that last time around there were central forces as well, but the TMC won hands down. Now there's violence, now there's again deployment of central forces, which is why it begs the question, who is this really benefiting? And if you say this is a pattern that is being orchestrated by the opposition, many within the opposition and other political observers would say that this clearly has only been benefiting the TMC, so perhaps this is being orchestrated by the state themselves.
We don't believe in violence. Trinamool Congress does not believe in violence because we have the people's support. We know that we have the people's support. Why we will indulge in violence? The opposition knows that they are unable to contest the elections. They are unable to get the people's support. They will not be able to contest with TMC. They will not get the people's support. And that is why they are resorting to violence. And they are trying to malign the All India Trinamool Congress, including the TMC government in West Bengal. They want to give a projection that All India Trinamool Congress only indulges in violence. But the truth is this, that ultimately they have resorted to violence. And you will see, entire state, nowhere there is any violence. Only South 24 Parganas, where CPIM, ISF and BJP combined, they have instituted this violence. And one incident in Chopra. Otherwise, entire state, you will see nowhere that there is violence. They have instigated this violence just to take political advantage, just to show to the people that TMC has indulged in violence and TMC wants violence. But why should we? We know that we have the people's support and we will get the people's mandate. And we are confident. We know that this happened in 2021 and this is going to be repeated in 2023 also and again in 2024.
Sure, but for how long can the state government keep pointing in the direction of the opposition
election.
every time there's an instance of violence? And I'm not just talking about this particular instance or election-related violence. Even when the Ram Navami violence happened, Shehzad Poonawalla, the first reaction from the state government was that the BJP was instigating this violence.
And similar to that occasion, as the claims are being made now, there's nothing that they put on record to suggest that it was true. In fact, Mamata Banerjee went out of her way and gave a clean chit to one particular community, saying that that community keeps Roza and therefore it can't indulge in violence. So there was openly sheltering of those elements who were throwing stones on Ram Navami processions. Secondly, let me tell you that forget everything else. Even Abhishek Banerjee's video, which has gone viral a few days ago, I think 2 or 3 days ago, where somebody, while his convoy was passing, shouted something. Now, this is a democratic right. You can shout a statement. You can call your neta names. That's all right. It's a part of a democracy. This is Rabindranath Tagore's land. The man gets out of his vehicle and starts running behind the person who has allegedly said this. This is the kind of brutal, on-the-face arrogance and political power that has gotten into their heads. We have seen Mamata Banerjee arrest people who have said Jai Shri Ram because she doesn't like the Jai Shri Ram slogan. The TMC to suggest that we are orchestrating the violence when they have a government, just like right now he's not letting me speak, he's constantly speaking, he's not waiting for my turn. So it has to be explained by TMC that how come the violence is taking place under their watch, at the very least. Secondly, now please, can I not be interrupted? Can I not be interrupted? Poonam, I think it is the only fair thing.
I'll give you your time. Shehzad Poonawalla, go ahead.
Yeah. Poonam, haven't there been instances, and Madam is a journalist, she would be able to recount it even better than me, that there have been factions of the TMC fighting each other and killing each other, throwing bombs at each other. Bombs have been found from TMC Karyakarta's house. Did that also get planted by the BJP? Did that also the opposition planted? Your neta from a particular community which you appease have been having bombs in their house, exploding when they are being made in their house. Those have nothing to do with us. How come that is happening? And what has the opposition got to do with that? And what has any election got to do with that? The fact of the matter is 150 of BJP Karyakartas, nationalists have been slaughtered by TMC workers and the cases have not been filed in a proper manner.
Sure.
No justice has been given to them. Who has been doing that in the last 10 years? So these questions, instead of answering, Mr. Biswajit Dev only comes here and pretends that he is Alice in Wonderland, doesn't know what is happening in his own state. He should at the very least say that Mamata Banerjee is the most incompetent CM who can't control the law and order situation in a state.
Why should I say? You better admit that Mr. Narendra Modi is the most incompetent Prime Minister who has failed to give jobs, who has failed to ensure democracy in the country, who is using central agencies against the opposition.
Let's stick to the subject at hand, sir. The violence is happening. Biswajit Dev, the violence is happening in West Bengal and questions will be asked of the state government.
Now regarding Abhishek Banerjee, what he has said. This is absolutely a fake video which has been posted by BJP, and this has been done at the instance of BJP. I would again like to repeat that Abhishek Banerjee did not chase anybody.
Sure.
It was absolutely a false and a fake video.
Sure.
Just to
Claims and
malign
counterclaims
Abhishek
are being made
Banerjee
on both
because
sides. The TMC says that this is nothing but a slander campaign. Unfortunately, violence keeps happening. The nominations have ended, but we're still days away from the elections actually happening. They're scheduled on the 8th of July. We'll wait and watch as to what really happens in the coming days, but I have to leave it at that. I thank you all for joining us here on this broadcast with your perspective. We are shifting focus now to the other political controversy that is brewing. Is the Modi government on a renaming spree? Now, since it took over, the central government has changed the nomenclature of roads, universities, awards, institutions, among others. Today, another institution's name was changed. The Nehru Memorial Museum and Library is now renamed as the Prime Minister's Museum and Library Society. Now, this decision was not taken overnight. Prime Minister Modi mooted the idea of setting up a museum dedicated to all Prime Ministers of India back in 2016. Last year, the Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya was inaugurated at the historic Teen Murti complex where the Nehru Memorial Museum and Library is housed. And today, in a special meeting, the Nehru Memorial Museum Society approved the new name. That has now raised hackles of the Congress. To quote Shakespeare, what's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Clearly, that doesn't seem to be applicable in this case, at least as far as the Congress goes. Now, before we get into the fireworks, let me tell you the rationale of the central government and the behind the renaming of the NNML Society. One of the biggest reasons is that this highlights the contribution of every Prime Minister in nation building. So why not talk about each Prime Minister? The Sangrahalaya depicts the collective journey of democracy in independent India, which is why the name has been changed. The government also then goes on to say that the museum is completely updated with technologically advanced displays on life and contribution of Jawaharlal Nehru, rebutting the allegation that the Congress makes that they're trying to erase the contribution of India's first Prime Minister. Another reason why the name has been changed is because it narrates the story of how our Prime Ministers navigated through the nation various challenges and ensured all-round progress of the country. It wasn't just one or two Prime Ministers or 3 or 4. It was all 13 Prime Ministers that have to be celebrated. Museum expresses the nation's deep commitment to democracy. That's another reason why this name has been changed. The government also says that it exhibits the contributions of all Prime Ministers from Nehru to Narendra Modi. The museum is a respect to all previous Prime Ministers and is democratic in its content. That's what the rationale is coming to the fore after this particular panel that overlooks the ongoings of this particular museum and library have now come out and said, remember, this comes under the Culture Ministry of the central government. Now, the Congress is not ready to buy that argument. It's petty. It reeks of vengeance is what they say. There are several allegations that have been made by the Congress party, both on social media and otherwise. They say that, in fact, Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge has said that this move shows the low mentality and dictatorial attitude of the BJP and the RSS. Congress General Secretary Jairam Ramesh slammed this bid to distort, disparage and destroy the name and legacy of the architect of the Indian nation state. He then went on to say that a small man is overburdened by his insecurities and has styled himself as Vishwaguru, taking a dig at Prime Minister Modi. Congress Member of Parliament Manish Tiwari said legacies don't get erased just by renaming buildings. Congress MP Karti Chidambaram said that focus must be on creating new institutions and not on renaming established ones. So those are the kind of reactions that came to the fore from the Congress party. Now there's reason for the grand old party to make those claims because the first family's name has been taken off multiple spheres. Earlier, the Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Award was what it was named. Now it's called the Major Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Award. It was renamed after the Modi government came to power. Indira Awas Yojana was what the earlier name was. Now it's called the Pradhan Mantri Gramin Awas Yojana. Earlier, there was the Rajiv Gandhi Centre for Biotechnology that has now been renamed to Madhav Sadashiv Golwalkar National Centre. Earlier, there was a scheme that was called the Rajiv Gramin Vidyutikaran Yojana. That was on the electricity scheme. That has now been renamed to Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana. The Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission was rechristened. It is now called the Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation. So the Congress has reasons to believe that the first family is at a disadvantage. The Modi government is trying to erase history, to twist history. The government, the BJP, denies all those claims.
कांग्रेस के कितने नेताओं ने जाकर नेहरू मेमोरियल देखा है? मतलब जिसे आम बोलचाल की भाषा में कहते हैं ना कि धूल फांक रहे थे, यानी डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी के द्वारा उनके उस पूरे स्वरूप को व्यवस्थित रूप में रखने का कार्य किया है। क्या किसी ने जाकर देखा?
By doing all those things, you are again showing that you are here and Panditji is there. When you say that before 2014 there was nothing in India, you are disrespecting your own leader, Atal Bihari Vajpayee.
Vinay Sahasrabuddhe, member of the Prime Minister's Museum and Library Society, now joins us on this broadcast. So thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Let me begin by asking you, you're a part of the Nehru Memorial Museum and Library Society, now rechristened, of course. If you can shed some light on the rationale behind the renaming, was there complete consensus among the entire committee about this name change?
Well, it was a very unanimous decision. There was complete consensus amongst the members of the executive committee of the what was known as Nehru Memorial Museum and Library, which has now been renamed as Prime Minister's Museum, Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya, which is a part of it, and it has been named as Pradhan Mantri Museum and Memorial Library. The rationale being, see, earlier we had a Nehru Memorial Museum and Library over there. Later on, in a very democratic manner, the government decided that why should we only be having some kind of a memorial for just one Prime Minister. I mean, we know that there are memorials or kind of small museums set up for Srimati Indira Gandhi and Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri as well. But we don't have any commemorative kind of a structure created for, let's say, P.V. Narasimha Rao or even Rajiv Gandhi or for that matter Chandrasekhar or Vishwanath Pratap Singh or Atal Bihari Vajpayee. And all of them were our very respected Prime Ministers. So we need not be unnecessarily discriminating between all our prime ministers. The nation will have to be unanimously grateful towards all.
Sure.
And therefore, we created a Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya, a Prime Minister's Museum, which is a state-of-the-art museum where you find digital technology and traditional museum or museology science combined together. So naturally, when the museum is no more Nehru Memorial Museum, it is a Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya, Prime Minister's Museum. So naturally, the name also requires to be changed. And therefore, as per the Society Registration Act, we decided to change it. It is perfectly legal, perfectly unanimous, and in a very democratic manner, which in a way also is the symbol of our spirit of accommodation.
So, Mr. Sahasrabudhe, what you're essentially trying to say is that as opposed to the claim that the Congress is making that this reeks of exclusivity, you're trying to push out the first Prime Minister of the country, you are saying that this in fact is all about inclusivity.
Perfect, perfect. And where have we changed? We still have Jawaharlal Nehru University and we continue to respect such institutions. We still have Indira Gandhi International Airport and we don't want to, we have not changed it. So I believe there is absolutely no question of changing the names in a wholesale manner. We are not on a name changing spree as such. But then an institution which has now been converted, it has graduated from one single Prime Minister's museum to the museum of all Prime Ministers. So this is our very democratic, inclusive and accommodative approach, which is now reflected in the name of the institution as well, which is pretty logical and something which everybody would understand.
But you say everybody would understand, sir, but the Congress is clearly not getting the point of it. They think that this is petty and vengeful, that the government is trying to erase the legacy of India's first Prime Minister altogether.
Well, if you are referring to the comments coming from Twitter on by our friend Jairam Ramesh, I think he is unnecessarily reading between the lines. He should read the lines. There is nothing, something conspirational about it. The character of the institution has changed. Would you say that it is illogical to reflect that change in the name of the institution itself? It is perfectly logical, and insofar as the allegation of vengefulness is concerned, I would request Mr. Jairam Ramesh and all others to visit the new Jawaharlal Nehru Gallery in the Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya. We have presented Jawaharlal Nehru's contribution in our country in a much more better way than what it was earlier.
Mr. Sahasrabudhe, you say that now the Congress should go and visit and perhaps look at this gallery that is a tribute to the first Prime Minister of the country. But many also say that the Congress has never really looked at this particular museum. It may be a legacy of the Nehru Gandhi family, but the Congress really hasn't done much as far as the upkeep and maintenance is concerned.
Certainly, certainly. And therefore, it was an institution nobody paid any attention to. Today, the Prime Minister, our Honorable Defence Minister, Finance Minister, everybody attends the meeting. Yesterday's meeting was chaired by Defence Minister and the Finance Minister was also present. So we attach great importance to such new institutions or reincarnated institutions, and therefore it is perfectly logical to reflect the change in the character into the change in the name.
Sure, but it's also the personal connect that this particular building has with Jawaharlal Nehru, which also seems to be the issue, that the Teen Murti house used to be Jawaharlal Nehru's official residence and hence the name stuck. That's why also the objection in renaming it.
The moment Prime Minister Nehru and his next generations donated it and it became a national property, naturally it was very logical and in the fitness of the things that we converted it and broad-based it. And therefore it is no more a property of a family. The family donated that property to the nation, and the nation in its collective wisdom decided to utilize it as a museum for all the Prime Ministers. So I don't think one should be so very touchy and needlessly sensitive on such issues. It is no question of a personal property. It is the nation's treasure. It is the national property.
It's not a personal affront. There is needless controversy over it, says Vinay Sahasrabudhe. So thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. We do hope that that argument finds resonance with the opposition and with the rest of the country. With that, we have to slip into a quick break here on this edition of The Right Stand. But on the other side, we are counting down to Prime Minister Modi's America visit. Why is it significant? How is it symbolic? We get you all those details on the other side.
Harming the people, the normal people, the students,
it's the citizens of Manipur
end.
who continue to bear the brunt, as Preeti is rightly pointing out, because their lives have completely turned upside down and they really want a long-term solution. Preeti, we'll have to leave that conversation there. Thanks a lot for getting us all those details. Manipur still continues to be on the edge because there are episodes of violence that continue to be reported. Now we are understanding miscreants have vandalized and torched Union Minister Rajkumar Ranjan's residence last night, and this happened in Imphal. Now remember, this is crucial because this now becomes the second time that Ranjan's home has been attacked during the ongoing violence in Manipur. The incident took place just a day after clashes broke out between unidentified miscreants and villagers that killed 9 people and injured several others in Kamalok area. Meanwhile, TMC MP Derek O'Brien has also written to the chairman of the Parliament's Home Affairs Committee seeking urgent meet on Manipur violence. We in fact are now getting a reaction coming in from the MO's External Affairs Rajkumar Ranjan as well.
And there is no religious.
So how can you say that? Because more than 100 churches have been attacked during this violence.
If you say like that, more than many temples are also demolished. So the mob violence, mob violence, you cannot identify it, whether this is church or this is temple. Everything is demolished. More than 70,000 the peoples were displaced. This is not on the basis of caste, creed or religions. It's a mob.
Does BJP think that religious conversation behind this attack?
No, I don't think so. Because I already told you that I was working for the last 30-40 years for the ethnic harmony and self-respecting each other. There is no religious issue. We are free. India, is secular. Anybody can, any community can have their own faith. There is no restriction, not on that base. But this is unwanted and this is unguarded incident.
So any casualties? Any casualties in your all your family members?
Yesterday's incident, some of my houses were burned down. That is my own sweat, earning money. I am not a corrupt. Under the political regime of the Prime Minister, there was no one is corrupt in this regime. So I do not know. This is also mob. If it is a religion, I am a Hindu. Attackers was Hindu. It is not religion. It's clearly proved that. So this is a mob.
Your family members are also
any casualty in your family member?
Now at the moment, luckily on that very night, my children are just arrived to Delhi. Otherwise, see, this is the second attempt. First attempt, I was there. So I requested the security advisor for prompt action. But yesterday, nobody is there. And then nobody is there means my mothers and brothers are there. And then what happened, the earlier attack was in early evening, that was 8:30. Yesterday was about 10:30. So everybody is relaxed, and even the security, we cannot come up. So that was happened.
In the last 7-8 years, BJP made very huge inroads in Northeast. In the last 7 years, BJP had made huge inroads in the Northeast sectors. They gained many political victories. And also in other places also, BJP is projecting these victories as a Northeast model. This time, the tensions and massacres disfiguring the central government image, especially in the Northeast sector.
I can't follow what you said.
No, according to this, all incidents, whether it is affect our image of central government in Northeast area. Northeast area, we have already been.
Central government is responding promptly. Say, for example, extra security force, timely sent it. And even the ex gratia was only 5 lakhs for the life loss, now increased to 10. And the special package for restoration of those churches, the temples and houses and property loss, for that special package is given. And the central government is also constituted a peace committee to bring the normalize. Central government is the responding promptly.
Okay, this is second time you are
yes.
being attacked.
In a recent act of violence in Manipur, unidentified miscreants set fire to the house of Union Minister Rajkumar Ranjan Singh in Imphal. The incident occurred in the early hour of Friday while the minister was away. This follows as a similar attack on the House of State Minister Nemcha Kipjen. Despite a curfew in Imphal, the move managed to reach the minister residence at Kongba. At the time, there was a total of 9 security escort, 5 security guard, and 8 additional guard on the duty. Let's hope to restore normalcy and foster a peaceful environment for the residents of Manipur.
Bring in our colleague Preeti, who in fact is now joining us live on the broadcast. Preeti, as far as the MOS External Affairs residence is concerned, Rajkumar Ranjan's residence has now been attacked twice. He's saying, luckily, thankfully this time my children were not there. They've been in the national capital. But do we have any clarity who were the miscreants behind this attack on his residence?
No clarity on who were these miscreants at this point of time, but there were almost 200 people who actually rushed into that place, and they burnt that whole entire residence down into ashes. Even the place where the security guard was staying, and he was also
Welcome back. You're watching The Right Stand, and the countdown for Prime Minister Modi's upcoming trip to the United States has begun. He will be travelling to the US from the 21st of June to 24th, and this visit is significant for India. There is a lot on symbolism. There's a lot of significance, especially as far as defence is concerned. Defence cooperation between the two countries is concerned. Several major deals are expected to be inked between New Delhi and Washington, D.C. The enthusiasm among the administration seems high there. Key members of the US President Joe Biden's cabinet have spoken with unusual clarity, stressing the initiatives that have been launched to break old taboos and overcome the hesitation that still exists within the US bureaucracy especially. Remember, Prime Minister Modi is going to be addressing the US Congress as well, and he is going to be the first Indian Prime Minister to do so for a second time. It's an action-packed 72-hour visit of the Prime Minister, one, like I said, that's high on symbolism and significance as well. Take a look at all that's expected, that's on the cards for the Prime Minister. It all begins with the Yoga Day event at the UN headquarters. Prime Minister will be leading the global community on International Yoga Day. Then we have an engagement, a private dinner with the Bidens. It's extremely significant given the rapport that the two world leaders share. As far as optics go, that is something that is going to be keenly watched. Then comes the US Congress address. It's significant because he's the first Prime Minister to address the US Congress twice, a demand for which was made from within the administration there, within congressmen who wrote to the Speaker to ask Prime Minister Modi, invite him to address the Congress. There's a bilateral meeting between the two leaders as well. The focus is going to be on trade and defense ties specifically. A meet with top CEOs is also expected. The big investment pushing India as the investment hub of the world, that is something that the Prime Minister is going to be doing. And like always, when the Prime Minister travels abroad, there is going to be a connect with the diaspora there. The significance of it is, of course, to build trust and confidence and highlight the path, the trajectory that India's growth is taking.
Prime Minister Modi, welcome to the United States of America. Ohio has a strong Indian American community virtually everywhere in our state. Business owners, entrepreneurs, educators, students, doctors, workers, advocates, leaders in the community. Indian Americans serve our nation honorably in the military. They're part of the fabric of our state. Our countries are united through our shared democratic values. Ours is the oldest, yours is the largest. We look forward to finding all kinds of ways to strengthen relations between our two countries. Enjoy your visit to the United States.
We want to have a 21st century that's dictated not by force, but by rule of law, by competition, and that's all a good thing.
I'm delighted to share that India's Prime Minister Modi will also be traveling to the United States to celebrate this day. His involvement underscores the depth of our bilateral relationship and our mutual commitment to well-being and harmony.
I am truly delighted that Honorable Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, would be paying a state visit to the United States. We eagerly await to welcome him in Washington, D.C. and to listen to his address in the Congress. While all visits by Prime Minister Modi to the United States have made history, this one has extra special significance. The state visit is a great source of pride for us all. It is a reminder of the cherished and ever closer friendship between our two nations.
India and the United States are natural research partners. Both nations value science and, more importantly, are driven to solve the same major challenges: be they in healthcare, climate science, artificial intelligence, or space exploration.
And on the behalf of all Missourians, I want to welcome Prime Minister Modi to our great country. Missouri has a strong relationship with India, whether that be the people-to-people ties, commerce, or innovation. And our connections only continue to grow. Mr. Prime Minister, we welcome you to our country and wish you safe and a successful journey.
Certainly, Prime Minister Modi has served the people well. We all strive to have democracy in the world. We all need good trade relations, and we certainly have good trade relations with India. So we look forward with great anticipation from hearing from Prime Minister Modi, and we look forward to building on our relationship between the U.S. and India.
The Congress will look forward to the state address that he will make in the United States Congress. That will be both houses of Congress. That's a very important position to be in. We will be attentive, and we'll look forward to all of the solutions that we can make together. That's what we've always done with India. We've always found ways.
The growing importance of the relationship between India and the United States cannot be understated. Our shared commitment to democracy and economic freedom serves to build peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region and challenge the increasingly aggressive China. Robust cultural, educational, professional programs play a key role in strengthening our partnership in science, technology, education, medicine, cybersecurity, civil nuclear energy, and so much more. Americans of Indian descent are an important fabric of the American life.
As far as strengthening ties between the two countries go, the defense deal that is on the agenda is also extremely significant for the two countries. The Predator drones that India is going to be acquiring from the United States, that is going to be a significant addition to our arsenal. The MQ-9B Sea Guardian is a maritime-focused drone. It can fly over a horizon via satellite for over 30 hours. It can safely integrate into civilian airspace as well. That only aids operations. It could surpass any other aircraft in its category is what most experts believe. It has advanced systems. It can fully capture motion video. The Sea Guardian can be used in a variety of operations for surveillance, for disaster management operations. Let's look at what the capabilities are of the MQ-9 Reaper. The primary role, of course, is of intelligence, of surveillance and of recon. It's equipped with a range of sensors and cameras. It can gather real-time imagery. It can transmit it to the ground. It has the ability to conduct precision airstrikes as well and can be employed in a range of munitions. The Hellfire missiles is something that it comes with. The MQ-9 Reaper, as far as its operational use is concerned, how can India put it to use in our context? Now remember, this is extensively used by the US military in conflict zones. They've done so in Afghanistan as well. It's proven effective in persistent surveillance. It can loiter over a certain area for extended periods. That definitely helps as far as intelligence gathering is concerned. It's an effective tool for tracking, targeting and for support as well. It can provide close air support to ground forces. Now, why exactly is this a big boost for India? Why is it so important that we have this in our arsenal? There are multiple issues. Let's start with border security. Now, this particular Brahmastra, as many call them, its enhanced surveillance for situational awareness can detect infiltration. It can detect smuggling threats. That's something that could help us, especially as far as our frontier with Pakistan is concerned. Counter-terror operations within the country as well. Intelligence gathering for covert operations is something that this weapon could be used for. It provides real-time awareness during these operations. As far as maritime security goes, surveillance capabilities of the Sea Guardian can monitor coastal areas. It can detect illegal activities like smuggling, like piracy, again something that we've faced on our frontier with Pakistan. As far as disaster management goes, we've just reeling the after effects of the cyclone Biparjoy is something we're still feeling. Something like this could help us assess damage during natural calamities. It can facilitate faster relief and rescue operations as well. That is why this is an important addition. The acquiring of this is going to be a definite boost to our defense capabilities and, of course, strengthen the ties between the two countries. With that, it's a wrap from my side.
As Prime Minister Narendra Modi undertakes a historic first-ever state visit to the United States, join me, Zakir Jacob, as I'll be live from both New York and Washington, D.C., detailing the defense deals, the address to the joint session of the US Congress, and of course the pomp and ceremony of the state banquet. That is all through this week on CNN News 18. Hello and welcome to Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. A fresh controversy has erupted in Karnataka as the Siddaramaiah government has decided to repeal the anti-conversion law which was introduced by the former BJP government. The government will bring in a bill in the upcoming assembly session starting July the 3rd. The anti-conversion law, also known as the Karnataka Protection of Right to Freedom of Religion law, was passed by the Basavaraj Bommai government in December of 2021. The law, which makes religious conversion through coercion, misrepresentation or allurement as illegal, has been adopted by many BJP-ruled states, including Karnataka. The Congress has called the law unconstitutional and against the ethos of communal harmony. The party claims that the law is being used as a tool to harass minorities. Ahead of the elections, the party had promised to repeal the law, and now it says it has the mandate to do so. Hindu groups have been up in arms, the Bajrang Dal staging protests against the government. As communal fault lines return, the big question remains, can the new government's political agenda not be mired in appeasement politics?
We have a constitution. If one learns to respect the constitution, that is always better to the country. All we are now doing is just repeal that provisos which the previous government brought about, and that's all we are doing. And we respect, our government respect the constitution.
We are now making that in tune with the constitutional spirit.
अगर वो लोग वो बिल को वापस लेना चाहते हैं तो हाउस और हाउस के बाहर भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी उसके प्रोटेस्ट करेंगे.
We had come out with a really good bill. It was very people-centric, but Congress, again, appeasement politics. They just want to distract the people from the guarantee scheme because they failed in guarantee. They are not able to deliver the guarantees. They are not able to keep up the promise. They are trying to distract.
All right, full panel joining us on the top of the show here on Brass Tacks. Madhu N. Rao is spokesperson of the BJP in Karnataka. Lavanya Ballal is spokesperson of the Congress party. Rashmi Sawant, Hindu rights activist, and KV Dhananjay is a lawyer and political analyst. Lavanya Ballal, let me start with asking you, what is the compelling need to get rid of this law? After all, I'm sure most congressmen and women agree that any conversion of one's religion through forceful means or through inducements must not be encouraged.
Good evening, Zaka. If you look at the measures that were taken by the BJP government or the incidents that happened to the lead of amendment of this anti-conversion law, there was one MLA of the BJP who complained that his mother has been forcefully converted to Christianity, and then he also alleged that a few villages in the Chitradurga district have been forcefully converted. The Tehsildar of that particular area was sent for fact checking, and he came back with a report wherein he said the villagers claim they were not forcefully converted or they were not induced to convert to any religion, but they are very happy after the conversion.
Okay.
Now, when we are talking conversion, Zaka, also the question that arises, was there a necessity to change the existing anti-conversion laws? So why did they go and add a clause? You know, if you look at the change amendments that happened last year, it also said if two adults, consenting adults, want to marry of two different religions, they will have to inform the DC's office at least 90 days prior to the wedding date. And if anybody, it need not be family and friends, if anybody had an objection, they could put an objection and then there will be an inquiry about the whole thing. Now,
but ma'am, this is not just vis-a-vis marriage. It could be any conversion where there is some form of either force that is used or inducements that are used. And this law, the Karnataka law that was passed in 2021, discourages and penalizes both conversion through force and conversion through inducement. What is wrong with that?
Yeah, 2022. Now, we are not saying somebody should induce, or we will encourage somebody inducing somebody to convert, or somebody should be forced to convert. We are not encouraging any of that. But if you look at the last 1 year, 12 months of the BJP's governance in Karnataka, we are very clear how the minorities in the state were hounded, the Christians were hounded in the state, and then this amendment happened. Now, my question is simple: what was the necessity to change the existing anti-conversion laws, which already exists in India? One. Two, if two consenting adults want to get married, why should it be the entire world's business? Three, if somebody is being induced, what is it that they are being induced with, Zaka? This is a very social challenge that we all should contemplate.
It could be money, it could be societal progress. But anyway, that aside, I want to ask Madhu Rao, and I think on the specific aspect which your party and your extended affiliate organizations are calling love jihad. Lavanya Balal says, if two people who are consenting adults above the age of 21, majors by law, want to get married or want to be in a relationship, then who is anyone to stop them?
Zaka, good evening. I think the Congress party is best efforts in confusing the people, just like the guarantees. I mean, first of all, let me tell you one thing. They're not able to cater to the needs of the people with regard to the guarantees, so they want to divert it. Now, point one. Point two, let me come to the specifics of this issue. Have the Congress read what the Act says? What the Act says? It says if there is a conversion, and kindly let the Congress person be aware that it is not anti-conversion, it's a regulation of conversion. Point one. Point two, what have we told? The conversion must not be because of misrepresentation, force, undue influence, coercion, allurement. What's wrong in that? I mean, I really don't understand the ministers of the Congress government saying that it is unconstitutional. Perhaps they have not read the Constitution. What does Article 25 say? What does the Stainless versus State of Madhya Pradesh judgment say? I quote. The court says what is freedom for one is freedom for the other in equal measure, and therefore there cannot be such thing as fundamental right to convert any persons to one religion.
No, I mean, but Mr. Rao, please explain. One second. Hear me out, please. Please explain to our viewers why a person who is above the age of 21 or above the age of 18, whether it is for purposes of marriage or whether it is for any purposes, upon his or her free will is converting from one religion to another. What is your problem?
Mr. Zaka, I think don't be confused just like the Congress party. I will read section 3 of the bill for you, the act for you. It says no person shall convert or attempt to convert either directly or indirectly or any other person from one religion to another by the use of misrepresentation, force.
But there are already provisions in the Indian Penal Code to check that.
Where is it?
There are already provisions. 503 is criminal intimidation.
Please tell me.
No, one second. Mr. Rao, if you do not know the law, then please humbly submit. Mr. Rao, one second.